actually starting my stream out of my tent this morning, which I haven't done before. Thought I'd show the stream. I know there's probably no one watching yet, but you can watch the VOD or whatever. My least favorite part of the day, especially when it's weather like this. It's still raining pretty good, and it was windy all night, and it's still windy. And the tent's not 100% waterproof, so the water still gets into a little bit. So things get wet, I get wet, and then when I try to take down my tent, then everything gets wet. It's just it's the thing I like least about this temperature. It's camping out in the rain, but more importantly, taking down my camp in the rain. That's truly the worst part. Because you actually get cozied up in your sleeping bag, you feel good, and you feel even more cozy because it's rainy and windy outside, but you're warm, so it's nice. And then you have to get up and climb out of that warm sleeping bag into a wet, rainy, miserable storm. And mentally, that's difficult. Once I'm up, I'm fine. But crossing that bridge to motivate myself to get up, that's tough. So while this is on, I'm gonna pack up my sleeping pad, stuff my sleeping bag into its bag, try to get as much into my bag before I have to get out of the tent. Because once I get out of the tent, everything's gonna start getting wet. The more I can get in there without opening everything up, the better. But yeah, stuff gets wet. But as you can see, it's pretty windy. I forgot to bring a guy line for that side of the tent. It's just kind of a straight. It's pretty much straight up. And if I get wind on that side, I'm pretty much getting broadsided, and it messes with the tent quite a bit. And I think all my weather stuff's in kilometers an hour. There's 60 kilometer an hour wind gusts last night, steady at 30 some odd kilometers an hour. So pretty windy. Tent handled it fine. It just would have been much better if this side over here was guy lined out. I just didn't bring a guy line because I always forget something. And usually I don't have to camp out in weather like this. It's fine, it's just I can have better solutions, but this works. But most stuff is wet now, to some extent, and that happens when it's rainy and windy like this. So I'm gonna start packing all this stuff up, just to kind of show you what my sleep situation, I guess, is like. And then we get to walk outside of my tent and see what the real world's like. It's not nice out today. There's been nicer days. You can't really expect anything other than this in the Pacific Northwest in spring. This is, again, I'm from Vancouver Island, Canada, and it's like a temperate rainforest. It just rains all spring, and if you expect it to be sunny, it just won't be. So it rains the majority of the days there, especially in the spring. You learn to deal with the rain, and maybe even appreciate the rain. Sleeping bag. The sleeping pad is a bit more of a, because it's on the ground sheet, and with this tent, I've used it since I started hitchhiking. Actually, no, I got it for my 2015 trip. So my first trip, I didn't have this one, but I've used it since 2015. 2015 is when I hitchhiked for like 8 months, and I slept in this tent almost every night. Not almost every night, but vast majority of nights. So I have hundreds of nights in this tent. And when you're hitchhiking and sleeping in a tent, you don't always get to set down your tent in really nice places, like nice smooth grass. Like you walk into the woods and you throw it down on a bunch of roots and rocks and stuff. Or like I punctured my first sleeping pad in Ireland, like next to a highway. I just set down some tall grass, and once I like put my hand down when I got in the tent, like I just felt a bunch of prickles go through my hand, and of course inevitably a bunch of prickles went through my sleeping pad, and killed that. So this tent has been punctured, so it's not watertight. Like it's got a bathtub kind of floor, where everything's spick and span. Maybe there wouldn't be any water, just water vapor on the inside from condensation and stuff. But no, there's water in my tent, which means water on my sleeping bag, which means anything that's wasn't directly on top of my pad, which protects me enough from the water, is gonna get a little bit wet, or a lot of bit wet, depending on where it was in the tent. So yeah, stuff's wet. I'm a little wet. But let's keep this coming. Oh, knocked my lens. Yeah, the wind is playing games. Yeah, someone yesterday recommended that I add a bit more information to my title, and that makes a lot of sense. Kind of say what I'm doing, going down Highway 101, and I'm in my current location. Doing that. I don't know if you can see the color difference, but like this is dry. This is all wet. It's a lot darker though. Yeah. And that's why I'm already wearing my waterproof pants and jacket and everything, is because usually I wouldn't in my tent, but I'm going to be kneeling on the tent floor, which is covered in water. Like, it's not a pool, it's just all wet. And that's also why I'm not wearing any socks yet either, is because I don't want to get my socks soaking wet from crawling around inside the tent while I'm taking everything down. It's not comfortable swishing my feet along the cold, wet ground on the tent, but I'd rather not get all my socks wet. Oh yeah. When you move the sleeping pad, you get to see the true damage of the wet weather. It's not very good. I'll show you in a sec. Just get the air out of this guy. Yeah, it's day 4, and I kind of showed taking down my tent yesterday from the outside, once I already had everything inside packed up, but I never showed what my home looks like from the inside. So this is my home. This is a Marmot Tungsten 1P tent. It's a one-person tent. You can probably tell it's a one-person tent. It's not very wide, but it is fairly tall. Like I can sit up pretty comfortably when I'm if I want to like sit up and read or do something, which is nice. It's not like a bivy bag where you're pretty much in a little waterproof coffin. I do have some actual room to move, even though it's only, wide enough for my shoulders plus a foot, like a foot total, not a foot on either side. Let's do this. Would also, like, I'm running low on batteries. If I don't get a night to recharge tonight, I'll probably have to take an off day and just hopefully become friends with a coffee shop owner and buy drinks throughout the day and have them let me plug in all day. It would be nice to have a temperature controlled place because all my crap is wet now. Like my sleeping pad especially is soaked, at least on the bottom, and starting to be on the top. One more day in weather like this, which is not supposed to let up, it's supposed to stay like this, and like everything will be soaked. Which at that point I'll still be safe from exposure. I'm not going to get hypothermia and die if I try to sleep in another like this. I just won't be comfortable because it's still like at night like 10 degrees or something like that. It's not 10 degrees Celsius. And sorry, I don't know the conversion to Fahrenheit. I have to work on my conversions. My stuff sack's soaked. Let's see. I don't know if you can see the wetness kind of sheen on there. So pretty much like right here, it's essentially, you can splash in it. So what happens when you put down a tent in a bunch of prickle bushes over its 3-year lifespan and never try to retreat it? This side of my tent is the coldest. Yeah, I know it is. My sleeping bag's not bad. The top of my sleeping pad stayed dry. Like I found some good ground to lay down my tent on, so it's not in like a depressed kind of hole or anything like that, so water wouldn't pool up underneath there. It's just blowing rain all night, so it kind of leaks in through the sides where I've had punctures before, and accumulates because I don't know if you can hear the rain, but it's still coming down, and I'm sure you can see the tent go all flippy floppy every once in a while. Like I said when I first signed on, this is my least favorite part of hitchhiking and camping outside in general, is when I have to take down my tent in the morning and it's all wet and everything's wet and it's raining outside and I have to crawl outside and it starts raining on me. That's my least favorite part. It's the most difficult part to overcome mentally for me, because you're in your tent, you're cozy, you're warm, and it being raining makes it even more cozy because you're like, I'm warm and cozy and it's all miserable out there. So you feel secure. But then you have to come out of that environment and go out into that, so... Step by step. What's next? And it's also just kind of awkward because I'm trying to keep as many things from getting wet as possible, but inevitably, like, things are gonna get wet. Can't avoid that 100%. This tent also has a vestibule here. Since it's a one-man tent, I can't fit my my 60-liter bag in the tent with me. Well, I could, but then I'd have to like have it at my head or like rest my feet on top of it. So bag goes out in the vestibule almost every night, which means if it's really buggy and there's lots of spiders crawling around and stuff like that, you might have a few like ants and spiders, visitors, that crawl out of your bag in the morning. But again, it's all part of the hitchhiking charm. Okay, ideally this wouldn't get wet. It's okay right now, but the down jacket doesn't do well when it gets wet. I know we have down products, but if they get wet, they kind of like, I say it cotton candies on you. And by that I mean like down gets its warmth from its loft, it's like poofiness. And when it gets wet, it goes from poof to and it no longer insulates you. So the goal with any down product is to not let it get wet. And my sleeping bag's down too, so that's fine. Again, I'm just going to try and get as much stuff into my backpack from this kind of position as possible, then I don't actually have to be out in the rain where things are getting wet really quick based off of the current rainfall levels. Yeah, I'm in Astoria, Oregon, so near the Oregon-Washington border. I'll be heading south down Highway 101 a little bit, but I'm just taking down my camp. Usually I get up earlier than this, to be honest. It's just when things are so rainy like this, I have little motivation to get up. I think for obvious reasons. It's tough getting up and stuff like this. And also, like, when I'm camping near a town, usually I get up at first light, partly because I don't want people to stumble upon my campsite. I don't think they do anything, it's just scary for people to stumble upon someone camping in some woods somewhere. So I take down first thing, so hopefully no one has to deal with that. I don't want to scare the town folk. But yeah, I did update my title to say day 4 and that I'm going south down Highway 101 and my current location is Astoria, Oregon. Hopefully that updated for you guys. I had someone recommend that I update my title to give a bit more detail, so I tried to do that because I think it is a good idea.
I don't even know if I can play like music while I'm on this, but when I had mornings like this on my 2015 around the world trip, I don't know if you might know the song better now because it became a lot more popular recently when Guardians of the Galaxy 2 came out. It was the first song that they play at the opening scene where they're fighting that monster, and it's called Mr. Blue Sky by ELO. And it's just a very fun song, and it's talking about, you know, like the sun is shining in the sky, there ain't a cloud in sight, it stopped raining, everybody's on their way. And it's just a really fun, cheery song, and when the weather's so much the opposite of that, I found it, I don't know, it kind of cheered me up in the morning because I found it funny to be listening to that song while things are like this in real life. Oh, good. And I pack up my bag in a different way when everything's wet compared to when everything's dry. When everything's dry, I kind of pack it in a more compact way with more stuff stored internally into my backpack. When everything's wet, like my wet weather or my wet gear, kind of gets stored externally down the side of my bag rather than putting it internally and getting other things wet. So I got different ways of loading my bag up depending on the conditions. Camp gear's away. Now I just need to get the rest of the stuff internally into the main compartment. Oh, babe. Yeah, that's that wind. As you can see, it's windy out. And I forgot to pack. This tent is great in almost all conditions. The problem with it is it's kind of tall and narrow. The vestibule's staked out, so it's good at deflecting wind, but this side over here is kind of it's almost vertical, not quite, but it's almost vertical. So if you get wind coming directly from that side, it's like getting broadsided on a boat by a big wave. It just tosses the tent. So if you know it's going to be windy in this tent, try and set up the tent so that the angled sides or the strong sides are facing the wind. Or if I was smart and I actually packed everything, I would have had a guy line that I could tie out to the bottom of that one and pull it out, so it, even though it wouldn't be that like angled, it would still be pulled a lot more taut. Because right now it's kind of floppy, so when the wind gets it, it just like it goes pretty good. So this is all, you know, I'm making constant mistakes when I'm traveling, and you'll forget some things. Someone last night did tell me that the weather was going to pick up. When I sat down, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't windy yet. It wasn't rainy yet. and then it picked up significantly. When I looked at my phone, when things started to pick up, they're saying wind gusts at about 60 kilometers an hour, steady winds in the 30 to 40 kilometer an hour range. Again, I don't know what the conversion is to miles an hour. I will learn the conversion at some point, but I'm not good at it yet. Now, so yeah, I'm almost ready to go out of my tent. And I think I'll put you guys in my little plastic bag waterproof thing and set you guys up outside, and you can see me try to take down my tent as quick as possible in the actual windy, rainy mess that is Oregon right now. You're gonna get wet, I'm gonna get wet, it'll be a great time. Okay, let's sit down again. You go over there. Yeah, this whole time I had my socks like in this little pouch thing, trying to avoid them getting wet, because there's nothing worse than wet feet. You can handle wet everything, but wet feet just ruins your day. You're not supposed to fall over. Stop it. There you go. My internet's not super high on battery, and this is dead now. So I've only got 2 batteries left. I've got like half charge on my largest battery, 22,000 milliamp hours, and one fully charged 12,000 milliamp hour battery. And after that, it's game over for electronics. So I figure I got one more day. I might go to a cafe quickly in the morning, plug everything in for just an hour while I kind of grit my teeth and get ready to go out into this storm, because it's not supposed to let up. It's supposed to stay like this all day tonight and into sometime tomorrow. So like, it's raining, it's windy right now, and at some point I just have to deal with that. But I might grab a coffee and a bite to eat before I actually have to face that hitchhiking. I'll have to walk somewhere to get a bite, but a cup of coffee in the morning makes a whole world of difference when yeah, that's my comfort. Yeah. So I'm gonna put my shoes on, then I'm gonna put you in this so the phone doesn't get wet and die. Before I do that, I'm gonna put my shoes on, so I'm all ready to quickly do this. Go. And yeah, this is a precarious situation because, yeah, my shoes are still dry. I put them in a spot where they stay dry. But while I'm packing up, I go barefoot because I'm trudging around in the wet. And now I gotta like try and dry my feet off with wet hands and everything, so I can put dry socks on and put them into dry shoes. I probably should have kept out something to dry myself off with. Oh well, I'll just air dry enough. It's not gonna be 100%. Let's go 80%. 80% dry. That's all I need. Just not soaking wet. Oh yeah, that's perfectly acceptable. Another thing you should always do is check your boots in the morning, because mine get stored outside in the vestibule, so they're exposed to the elements. So give them a quick first dump them, and just do a little probing check. Oh, that was a good idea. There's a snail in my boot. Sorry, it stuck onto my finger and I just flicked it off. I would have showed you guys the snail in my boot, but otherwise I would have crushed that with my foot. And we would have had really nice feet. Not only would they be getting wet today, but they'd have crushed like snail guts on them. So take off my shirt. No, I will not. I have my shirt and all my rain jacket on. Because it's wet enough in here that even though I'm inside, I'm gonna get wet with all my moving around. I don't want to get wet right now. The next time I want to get wet is when I have a shower, which I haven't had in a few days now. Until then, I'm avoiding it. How much food and water do I carry? In conditions like this, like where there's unlimited supply of water, because you're in the Pacific Northwest where it rains all the time and there's water galore, I carry about a liter at a time. The most I've carried is when I was in the outback in Australia, and I wasn't like between towns and stuff. Like there's no water. If you get caught out with none, you're kind of screwed. So I carried about 5 liters of water at a time when I was in Australia, only through the middle parts. And that was with a 2-liter water bladder in my backpack, a 2-liter water bottle slid down the side in a mesh pouch, and a 1-liter Nalgene. That was my 5-liter combination. Right now it's just a 1-liter Nalgene. Honestly, there's better water bottles. I just like that those ones have like a little thing that you can hang it off with a carabiner and stuff. Or there's lighter water bottles, I guess I should say. Why am I doing this? Yeah, well, I've been hitchhiking pretty extensively the past 4 years. I've done it in 25 countries, been picked up 700 some odd times. And it's kind of been my passion for the past 4 years, and I wanted to show that passion off to anyone who's interested in, because like everyone knows what hitchhiking is, but no one really knows what it's like, and I thought people would find it interesting. It certainly isn't glamorous a lot of the time, but I think it's a lot of fun. I really like the people I meet as I'm going, the people that pick me up, the experiences I get, this sense of adventure, because every day I don't know where I'm going to end up, who's going to pick me up. Like, hitchhiking's a lot of fun. And you're constantly overcoming challenges. Like, I'm traveling by myself, so I get myself into trouble or problems, and I have to get myself out of those problems. So when you do accomplish something, you get somewhere, like, you only have yourself to thank. But if you get in trouble and you do something wrong, you only have yourself to blame. So like, I am directly responsible for my own well-being, because I'm by myself. Hey Shan. Yeah, I did make it through the night, and like you said, the weather got progressively worse, with lots of wind, lots of rain, and you can probably see that that's still happening. And it's supposed to keep going all day today, all night tonight. So there's no point in me trying to really like wait it out, because it's not stopping. And yeah, I haven't started a stream while I'm still in my tent before, but I thought you guys would be interested in see what my sleeping situation's like. Yeah, Shan, everything got wet, because I've used this tent like a few hundred nights, and I've slept in some rough conditions where it just is not kind to the tent, so it's not watertight anymore. Like, most tents have, they call it like a tub bottom, where it's like plastic or like what's the material? Polyester nylon floors, and then I come up to this, so it's kind of like, in theory, it should be able to sit in water and be watertight. But inevitably, you're going to puncture that watertight barrier. It's not very thick, so I punctured mine. A lot of things that would poke you. So I killed my first sleeping pad, like my inflatable sleeping pad in Ireland. Right now I have another inflatable, but I'm guessing I'll puncture that one too on this trip. They're just so much more comfortable and more compactable than a closed cell foam sleeping pad would be. But they're delicate. They break, they puncture. A valve leaks or something like that, and then you end up sleeping directly on the ground that night. So, lots of stuff can go wrong with them, but they're comfortable. So, it's a trade-off. Yeah. I'm almost ready to get out of here. And again, it's nice to see a few familiar names in the chat. Is anyone in chat in the Pacific Northwest right now, Washington, Oregon, like Northern California? If so, they might be experiencing what I'm experiencing too. She's a wet one. Yeah. Okay. I think someone asked me at one point if I carry like any like self-defense, something like that. I carry a essentially utility knife. It's for cutting cardboard. Is essentially what I use it for. Taking large sheets of cardboard and making them like long, skinny pieces. I've never even thought about using this for any kind of purpose other than utility, but I guess you could call that a weapon. Yeah. Put that in my pocket. Okay. I'm switching you to wet weather gear. And then I'll put you outside and see what we can do. I think you're gonna have to be lensless. Unfortunately, I know that's super zoomed in right now, but we're about to put you outside, and you'll have I'll stick you back a bit so you have a better field of view. And you're gonna get to see my camp spot, which like it's an okay spot. It's quite close to civilization. But people have used it as like a dumping for garbage, pretty much, in certain spots here, which you'll probably get to see unless it all blew away last night. Which annoys me when I see like green space covered with garbage. I'm at 48%. I think that's enough, 48%, to get me to a cafe where I'm going to quickly grab a cup of coffee, maybe a bite to eat, and like mentally prepare myself for the wet that I will experience all day today. Put you on your thing. Yeah, wild boars can be pretty territorial. Figure if I'm staying in my tent, I'm not seen as a threat to them. Yeah, you wouldn't want to piss one of those guys off. But yeah, like I'm from BC, I've never had any bear encounters. You hear that? Ain't that beautiful? That's what I'm going out into. And that's where I'll be all day. So that sounds like fun to you. When you get to stay nice and cozy inside, then keep watching, because that's what you get to watch. I'm ready to roll. You need to be closed. Okay. Going out into the real world. But yeah, as you can see, there's like just trash all over the place, which honestly annoys me quite a bit. I hate seeing green spaces covered in crap. Alright, just fixing my waterproof stuff. Where do I want to put you guys? Yeah, how's that? That seems okay. And yeah, with all this trash, if anyone thinks I left any of this trash, I didn't. And I took a video last night showing what it looked like before I set down my tent. Just just to clarify that I didn't leave anything like this. I don't litter. I follow the leave no trace kind of principle. I want it to look just as good or better from before I got there till after. It should look the same or better. How we doing here? Gonna have for a bit. Alright, see you later, Shan. Have a great day. I know I will. We're at battery. 35%. I gotta get somewhere inside where I can get everything properly prepared. I'm kind of prepared, but I don't have this hooked up to a battery right now. I'm at 35%. It goes down, I think, about 1% per minute. So. I know the audio is probably not the best because I have no external mic hooked up, and it's in a pretty much plastic bag, so that's going to cover the mic a bit. But how much I can do at this point. Try and get a better setup once I get somewhere. I don't know if you can see how rainy it is. It's hard to tell. And you probably have raindrops on your screen. But it's pretty wet outside. Welcome to a temperate rainforest. Yeah, as I was saying earlier, like, getting out of a tent when it's like pouring rain is probably my least favorite part about hitchhiking and camping like this, but part of me really likes it. I think I've told some people, it's like when the weather's nice, I'm like happy. The weather's kind of dreary, I'm like eh. But when things get really shitty out, then I kind of almost find it humorous, and I kind of enjoy it again. So the weather today is kind of at the humorous point where I kind of like it again. It's it's so miserable. It's funny to me, and the act of overcoming that and just dealing with it is fun. So. That's me. And guaranteed when I get into this cafe, I'm gonna get some weird looks. And if I was a person just chilling in a cafe and I walked in, I'd give me a weird look too. Because, well, I look kind of silly. Oh yes, Uptown Cafe. This is my art. Hopefully they serve me. Because I'm wet. Very, very wet. I don't even know if you can see much anymore, or if your lens is completely covered. Because I can barely see my screen based off of the amount of water on it.